Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine and The Shark. Today is our 167th episode, and we're discussing the 1978 science fiction movie, Laserblast. So, let's get things started.
I like turtles.
Yep, that's the best way to start this episode. Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
Star Wars was a major hit when it came out. And, of course, with any movie being as big as Star Wars, movies that would try to capitalize on it would come out shortly after. One of these was Laserblast, which came out in 1978. This is one of the first films that was made by Charles Band, who would later go on to direct the Puppet Master franchise and start his own production company, Full Moon Features. They would make movies like the aforementioned Puppet Master, Demonic Toys, and pretty much anything that had weird stop-motion creatures attacking people. That would most likely be something from a Full Moon's feature.
Yeah, and honestly, I look at Laserblast, and to be honest, going from Star Wars to making to Laserblast, logical, but still, you're going from galactic war, ancient prophecies, to basically just alien semi-invasion with a powerful super weapon that pretty much corrupts its user. More on that later, but yeah, quite the inspiration and immediate turnaround on that one.
The movie is about a young man, Billy, who finds an alien super weapon and ends up using it and misusing it, shall we say. So, let's get started with talking about the film. The film begins with the opening credits, which is set to the opening music of Laserblast. This music is done in a synth score that, for me at least, is really awesome. It's actually probably better than this movie deserves. It sounds grandiose. Not in the same way as Star Wars, but it still sounds like something really epic, and the fact that it uses purely synth music in 78, that is kind of ahead of its time in a lot of ways. The movie itself begins in the desert as a green-skinned man wearing a weird necklace and an arm cannon wanders through the landscape. A spaceship appears overhead, startling the man as he tries to hide from it. As the spaceship slowly lands, its occupants step out, and this is the reason why we are doing this movie, because they appear to be two turtle/lizard-like aliens, one of them being gray and the other one being orange. They're animated in stop motion by Dave Allen, whose work we've previously talked about on Q the Winged Serpent and Caveman, amongst many other movies. And for this movie, and this budgeted movie, they look fantastic. They move so fluidly. It is impressive that they only appear on screen realistically for about 5 minutes, but every single nanosecond of those 5 minutes are really impressive stuff.
Yeah. This film and Dragonheart Vengeance definitely had their priorities right when it came to their budget. Rough Around the Edge doesn't exactly begin to cover this kind of film, but if it was able to make its money back and with just this alone, among few other things, then that's really telling for how impactful these creatures actually were.
Man, I really hope you like seeing these aliens in the beginning of this movie, because this is the most you're ever going to see of them.
Sadly, although they do come back in the ending, I will say that much. I do like what they did with them, how they brought it full circle. What's also interesting about these two is they speak in their own language, and the way they did this is, I believe Dave Allen himself spoke into a tape recorder, and they played it backwards and cut out every other syllable to make this strange, gibberish, chirping language that you hear.
Huh, interesting. It reminds me how in Wind Waker, the choo-choo sound effects, it's actually two Japanese men arguing, and they reversed it and high-pitched it. So it's funny when they do that thing for sound clips for creatures, basically.
The two aliens continue to scan the area for signs of life until the green-skinned man jumps out of the bushes and hits one of their weapons with the laser cannon. He continues to shoot at them before one of the aliens manages to blow the laser cannon off of him. The green-skinned man tries to run but is caught by the aliens. However, he trips and falls, causing one of the aliens to vaporize him with a ray gun, leaving behind nothing but dust and the necklace. And obviously, this is the reason why Patrick was so scared of aliens and why they had to go alien hunting.
Nice.
I mean, these guys are so ruthless, you know?
Yep.
Indeed.
The two aliens then see a plane fly overhead, and they run back into the ship and then take off. As Matt said, this is probably the most we see of the aliens, but I will give them credit where credit is due. This is not the last time we've seen them.
Correct.
We then cut to Billy, our protagonist, waking up in shock from all of this. Now, Billy is played by Kim Milford, who actually was cast mostly because he resembled Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Despite this, he did a lot of accomplishments. He was in Jesus Christ Superstar and the Rocky Horror Picture Show on stage, and ironically enough, he would co-star alongside Mark Hamill in the same year when he did Corvette Summer. They actually would end up becoming good friends until Milford's too early death, sadly. Yeah, he actually became very good friends with Mark Hamill, so that's pretty cool to see.
After having watched this movie, I want to know, the guy who played Billy, was it in his contract that he be shirtless for the entirety of the movie, or was that just a personal choice?
Yep. Well, I mean, they gotta give something for some of the audience members, so I guess that was it.
Indeed.
As Billy gets dressed, though not with a shirt, he sees that his mother is packing up to leave. He heads outside and glares at her as she stares back, then continues to pack up to leave. Billy's mother says that she got to get another invitation to Acapulco, and she doesn't want to miss out on it. Obviously, she's lying here. She just wants to go to Tashi Station to see the power converters. Billy just glares at her again as she asks what does he want. He tells her that she's been there hundreds of times and asks how many times she still has to go there. She says, as many times as they want me there, as Billy just scoffs at this and leaves. She then continues to pack, before we then cut to Billy driving in his van before stopping off at his girlfriend Kathy's house. Now, I had to point out a couple things. One is that there is quite a bit of padding during this part of the movie, but for the most part, there are little parts that are egregious later on, but for this sequence, I think the padding actually works to its benefit because it shows how empty both Billy's life and the town he lives in is. This is a town that is absolutely devoid of anything, and we'll get to more of that later on, but I think it was almost an intentional choice. Maybe it's me reading a bit too much into it, but that's how I see it anyway. Kathy's grandfather, the Colonel, yells at Billy to get off the premises as the Colonel is shell-shocked over something that happened in the past. Billy accidentally knocks over a motorbike as the Colonel yells at him to get out of there, despite Billy asking for Kathy. Billy gets in his van and drives off as Kathy arrives, asking who that was. The Colonel babbles about being in Operation Sandust as Kathy asks if Billy was there. She then comforts the man and brings him inside, as we then cut to Billy driving around again. We then cut to a couple of police officers, with the thinner of the two smoking a joint and laughing. His partner, a heavy-set bearded man, asks him, "Why do you keep smoking that?" As a thinner cop says he stole it off the kids and that it's good. The bearded officer says that if he keeps doing it, he'll get thrown off the force as the thinner cop continues to smoke. He offers the bearded cop the joint as he takes a puff of it and begins coughing.
A trend I've noticed with a lot of these B movies that we watch, basically the entire cast are assholes, idiots, or both. What's up with that?
Or horny.
I think maybe, at least with this movie, I think it works because getting into something that happens in a little while, but even the cops have like nothing to do in this town but just sit around and really do nothing. So in that case, I think it works.
Yeah, I think another reason why these kind of movies tend to have like a lot of assholes in the cast is because, well, most of them are gonna get killed at some point, so the audience doesn't feel too bad, if I had to guess.
Completely justified.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. Billy's van drives by as I note that it's Billy, and the bearded cop says, "Let's go get him," with a huge grin on his face. And I like that the cops are just so bored with nothing to do, they decide to antagonize Billy for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, the only way this would be even worse is if his mom just drove by, honked the horn, and went like, "Freshman!" and the police pulled out yowie paddles. That would be so brutal.
It would. They then drive off, with the cop car nearly tipping over. The bearded cop calls the skinny cop an idiot as they turn the car around and chase after Billy. After catching up to him, they try to run Billy off the road as they then nearly lose control of their cop car and it swerves all over the place. Comical music plays during this part as they eventually get the police car under control. The bearded cop gets out of his car and writes Billy a ticket, as Billy whines about this, saying how it'll cost him so much in insurance. The bearded cop says, "Yo mama got enough money?" Then leers at him and laughs, saying, "How's your mama doing these days?" with a smirk and an evil laugh, which makes me wonder, what does Billy's mom actually do? She's out of the town 3/4 of the time. Billy doesn't seem to have a good relationship with her, and it makes you really wonder.
First, they decide to antagonize him and force him into a situation where they have to pull him over. Second, they give him an exuberantly high speeding ticket just because. And third, they gotta diss his mom because of that. On top of everything, they really did try making us feel nothing about these guys, and they have ultimately succeeded for it.
Fun fact, the bearded sheriff's deputy that is doing all this is the man that would later go on to voice Principal Moss in King of the Hill. So just imagining Moss doing all this is strangely in character.
That is interesting. Billy then speeds off as the bearded cop goes back to the cop car. The thinner cop asks if they should chase Billy, as the bearded cop says no because it's just too hot out. The cop car then pulls out early, causing another car to be run off the road and flip upside down. We do get a hilarious reaction shot of the two cops looking really shocked at themselves, which they hold on it just long enough to where it's funny. We then cut to Billy driving up to a gas station and buying a Coca-Cola, then drinking it before a car pulls up. It's driven by Chuck, the town bully, and Froggy, his nerdy little friend, as Froggy mocks Billy while they circle him. I had to point out two things. Number one, so this is what happened to Scut Farkas and his little lackey. Number two, Froggy is played by Eddie Deason, best known for Grease, Mandark and Dexter's Lab, and the nerdy kid in the Polar Express, amongst many, many other film appearances. I don't know what's weirder, the fact that it took the podcast this long to get to something with Eddie Deason in it, or the fact that this is the first thing we're doing with Eddie Deason.
This doesn't happen too often, but I have noticed this trend where in shows or movies, they will have the big buff idiot dude, effectively your ogre from Revenge of the Nerds, team up with your Poindexter dweebs, Screech from Saved by the Bell, and have the two of them be together as friends / bully compatriots, and I've never understood that.
I know, it's so weird because even in this movie, Chuck seems more like he's annoyed by Froggy than friends with him, especially later on.
I'll say this though, given nowadays where people like Mikey, his crew from Avantris, despite being very different look-wise, I can definitely somewhat believe this. Also, since we're talking about the guy who played Mandark,
Man, Froggy was such a jerk before meeting Big the cat.
Yep, this is a prequel to that all along. A witch turned into a frog and then he finally mellowed out, so good for him. Chuck notes how Billy's out early. As Froggy jokes it's not for the reason that they're out, Chuck jokes that their party is going to be a little too rough for him and says that they were up all night. Chuck asks Froggy if he thinks Billy wants to race as Froggy quips, "Oh, Billy never races." Billy agrees to the race and gets in his van. He tries to start his engine but it stalls out on him. Chuck and Froggy laugh at him as they drive off, with Chuck mocking him by screaming, "How much handicap do you want?" Billy smacks the ceiling of his van in anger as we cut to him driving off in the desert. I like this part of the movie too because, again, it shows how Billy has absolutely nothing in his life at all. His mom abandoned him, the cops harass him, the other guys in the town mock him, his car sucks, he has no job, it seems like nobody in the town has a job. There's literally nothing for them to do but drive out into the middle of the desert and just stare into space because what else is there? I like that. I really do think a lot of that was intentional. It's kind of like Last Picture Show with alien weapons.
Everything that happened going forward involving Billy is kind of on mostly everyone. The dad who said, "No thank you, you're not seeing my daughter," despite the daughter honestly kind of being on board at the beginning of the movie. And the cops, yeah, they're kind of assholes. They would 100% be one of his next victims. Also, Froggy and Chuck just asking to be school bullies turned meat piles.
As Billy parks the van near the bush, he gets out of the van and stares into space before finishing his Coke bottle, throwing it into the sand. It manages to land near the laser cannon, which fires on the bottle and destroys it, which, I had to point out one thing, that's the real message of this movie. If Billy didn't litter, he never would have found the alien super weapon and gone insane. So that's a really good message, children. Don't litter, because then you won't find alien super weapons.
Fitting considering the aliens are turtles here.
Billy then approaches the laser cannon Curiosity. He then picks it up and begins pointing it at things, pretending to shoot stuff before putting his arm in the cannon. Man, Billy isn't very smart, is he? That thing could have ground his hand to the bone, and he just stuck his arm in it. He then runs around with the laser cannon, pretending to shoot things again while going, and he literally does this, pew pew pew, pew pew pew, while running around the desert like an idiot, which on one hand is really sad, but at the same time it's like he has literally nothing better in his life than this. As he continues to jump around with it, he then finds the necklace that the green skin man had before, of course, turning into dust.
It was at this point I realized why they cast this man to play Billy. Not only can he act as the main character, he can provide the movie sound effects too.
Billy then grabs the necklace, and as he does so, a laser fires from the cannon, causing him to drop it. He then tries firing it again, seeing that nothing is happening before picking up the necklace. Billy then begins shooting at random bushes and trees, laughing and jumping for joy as he does so. After he blows up a cactus and laughs in triumph, we then cut to a black car pulling up to the gas station. I do like that part that just shows how enthralled Billy is with just destroying stuff, because it does come back later on.
There's a bit of an error with the shooting montage with the laser. Initially, it showed him putting the necklace around his neck, and then as it goes on, he's holding the necklace in his hand. So I think that they may have gotten a couple of things mixed up, or they did a few takes from different ways of holding it and forgot that they changed things up and sliced them together by accident.
I could see it, especially considering the budget that this movie had. They probably didn't have as much of a need for a continuity editor as some other productions. As the black car pulls up to the gas station, an FBI agent, Craig, confronts the man cleaning his windows. Now, Craig is played by Gianni Russo, best known for playing Rizzy, the guy who gets strangled and who kicks through the windshield at the end of The Godfather. As he pays the man, Craig fumbles with the mysterious black suitcase before asking the old man where the nearest hotel is. The old man is surprised that Craig is staying in a town like this, as Craig asks if he liked the town. The old man sarcastically says sure, and tells him that the hotel is down the road as Craig drives off. We then cut to Kathy driving through the woods before seeing Billy's van, then notes that he's not there. We then get an extended sequence of her looking for him in confusion, as this is really just padding for padding's sake. The earlier bits of padding I could justify as being part of the story. This I really can't. This just feels so gratuitous. This part I actually had to fast forward because it just goes on for so long. She looks at the picnic set up for them in confusion, then goes to the van before Billy scares her by jumping out at her. I do have to wonder, how was Billy able to get a bottle of wine for this weird picnic they're having? Because it's like a bottle of wine is too classy for this town.
True.
Kathy then says that Billy is more trouble than he's worth as he laughs at this, saying, "Do I?" They then lay down next to each other as Kathy asks what he did this morning, asking why he got up at the crack of dawn to go to her house. She then asks Billy why he can't be more normal as he ignores her and lays back to just sunbathe. Kathy notes how her grandfather is upset at him, and he said that he'll shoot Billy the next time he shows up. She then notes that if you'd be more ordinary, then you wouldn't be Billy, would you? As he just ignores her. She says how it's just her, him, and the sky like a giant cup, as Billy notes that they're just the dregs. She kisses him, as Kathy says that she sees a darkness in Billy, and this is one thing where I feel if this movie was just tweaked a little more, that we got to see a little bit more of Billy's inner darkness at the world treating him like garbage. It would work a little bit better, because right now, it doesn't seem like inner dark as much as just being really, really aloof and bored with everything.
Yeah, it honestly feels like they're trying to go for Bruce Wayne when in reality, it's just picking on Forrest Gump, and that feels less ominous than the former of the two.
Billy ignores this, as Kathy says they have to leave to go to Franny's birthday party. Billy says that he doesn't want to go, as Kathy says that she'll go with Chuck instead, which gets Billy to want to go. Kathy then notices a strange red section of Billy's chest from wearing the necklace, as he thinks it was just from a random bug bite. We then cut to the spaceship flying off, as the two aliens continue to work the strange-looking controls. The interior of the spaceship looks like a child designed it, and I mean that in a good way, because this spaceship looks really, really awesome. It's like the coolest model spaceship that never existed.
I'm really great they did so because, again, these aliens are barely in the movie after the beginning, so the fact that they went all of the way to make this big setting instead of something generic with metal is quite impressive, honestly.
Yeah, the fact that there's a lot of stickers on the control panels, which, to take a line from Jobby the Hong, but if for some reason you want to apply even more stickers, get help.
So this is another scene of padding just for padding's sake, to which I would like to ask, why couldn't we get padding with the aliens rather than padding with Billy and just his lazing about and all that shit?
I would have liked to see more of these aliens. Believe me, they are easily the best part of the movies by a mile. So yeah, I have to agree with you there. We do get to see another alien as their view screen turns on as a red alien, their superior, appears on screen. The red alien greets them as they greet the red alien back, only for the superior to begin yelling at the two. The alien then shows them footage of Billy with a laser cannon and firing it before yelling at the other two. I really do like this part. Even though these aliens are speaking complete gibberish, you still understand what's going on. The boss is so pissed off at them for being so stupid and leaving the weapon on Earth, yelling at them to get the weapon back. The two aliens literally turn their ship around and begin driving back to Earth to get the weapons.
I joke about everyone in a B movie being an idiot holds true. Even the aliens are idiots.
Turn the ship around, going, Leia knows where Luke is. Turn it
Nice.
upside down, take it back to... Wait.
Unfortunately, instead of this awesome alien footage, we then cut to Freddy's birthday party, which is a pool party, which is probably the saddest looking pool party I've ever seen in a movie because everything is just gray and orange and it doesn't even look inviting. I mean, the Eds had a more fun pool party than this. As everyone gets cake, Chuck and Froggy go by the hot dogs as Chuck hits on girls. After one rejects him, he then throws her into the pool as she yells at him. While the others go to swim, Billy just lays by the pool despite Kathy asking to go swimming with her. I feel like what they were trying to do with Billy, they were trying to show how he didn't care about anything in the world. But I don't know, it just doesn't click for me. And I'm not bashing Kim Milford because he is doing the best he can with the material. But I don't know, I feel like Billy being more world-weary than being just bored would have worked better for the performance. As we get a lot of more shots of the party and Billy just laying around, a girl goes up to Billy and seductively asks him if he wants a bite before another man throws her into the pool with him. Franny continues to eat cake and goes up to Kathy. She laments about her birthday being a lame one, noting that no one would have come if not for the pool. Obviously, she's wrong about that. People would have come to this party because it's something to do in this town. Like, what else were they going to do? Just go in the desert and stare into space?
By the way, since we're at a pool party and this is a B movie, here's your obligatory required tit shot.
Well, this was a Grindhouse movie, so be surprised there weren't a lot more of that in here.
Yeah. Also, I mean, there's possibly stargazing, which probably gets old after a while, but it's also something to do.
Kind of.
Kathy says that Franny has lots of friends, as she bitterly remarks, yeah, because they have a pool. Kathy says that she's going to go and change out of her bathing suit, and tells her to tell Billy when he gets up. We cut to Franny eating cake dejectedly as Billy finally wakes up and approaches her. She continues to stuff her face with the cake, saying how they say how cake is bad for you, but what about radiation? What's the point of anything? Wow, she's a real bummer. Like, she's a real great friend to have around. I mean, it's her birthday and she's just sitting around moping.
Yeah, what was Billy even in that girl?
Billy asks about Kathy, as Franny says that she went inside. Billy then wanders through the house, seeing everybody doing one of two things. Either they're all making out, or they're just sitting there and staring, which is really creepy and I think an unintentional way. Eventually, Billy finds Kathy's bathing suit in a closet, then hears her nearby.
Either making out or just standing there staring sums up the 70s perfectly.
Indeed.
True, I can see why. He then opens a door, only to see Chuck trying to force himself on top of Kathy, despite her yelling at him to get off. Billy leaps into action, jumping on top of Chuck as they grapple on the ground. I do like this bit where Froggy tries to tackle Billy several times, but Billy just backhand him onto the sofa. They did repeat that gag a couple of times, and I think it actually worked pretty decently for what it was. Billy eventually grabs a tennis racket from the closet and brandishes at them, despite Kathy telling everyone to knock it off and nothing happened. This guy was just on top of you 2 seconds ago. I think you'd want Billy to beat this guy's brains out.
Yeah, I mean, unless this is a regular occurrence, which dark shit if it actually was. Yeah, you have every right to have Billy pull out a tennis racket and go Mario Tennis Aces on their ass.
Despite Billy and Kathy trying to leave, Chuck then tackles Billy as he and Froggy beat him up. Kathy smacks Chuck with a tennis racket, knocking him out, as Froggy just runs off. Kathy comforts Billy as she helps him up, remarking how he's the strongest person she knows. Billy notes that, "You're the only one in town who thinks that," as she asks, "What does that matter?" as he smiles, knowing that it's just him and her as they leave. We then cut to Billy staring at the laser cannon in his garage before picking it up on the necklace. Here's one of the weirder editing tricks of the movie because at this point you'd think it would just cut to Billy with the laser cannon walking outside or something, but no. It cuts to him in bed, gyrating as he can't sleep as his eyes turn a pale white. This just seems so weird to me. it doesn't make any sense with the previous sequence of Billy seeing the laser can and the necklace, because you think that he's going to put it on, he's going to just march out of the house or something like that, but it's something entirely different.
He's supposed to show that he's getting possessed or something by the technology, but you could still cut it out and then we will understand because of future events in the movie.
We then cut to Chuck getting ready to leave the party before asking Froggy to join him. Unbeknownst to them, Billy is waiting on a cliff with a laser cannon, and his skin is a slight shade of green. Chuck gets out of the car to talk to Froggy, as Billy fires on the car, destroying it in a massive explosion. Seeing how easy this car blew up, it was obviously manufactured in Bikini Bottom. Franny says that she'll call the police as they all run inside, while we continue to see the flaming wreckage of the car. We then cut to the police station, where the sheriff tells the two cops from earlier to respond to his dispatch. The two cops are busy ignoring him and stuffing their faces with tamale, as the sheriff angrily hangs up. These are probably the only cops in a movie more inept than the ones from Halloween 5, who literally had clown music play when they showed up on screen.
Right.
Bearded cop berates the skinny cop for eating hot tamales early in the morning, asking, "What the hell must this lining of your stomach look like?" before stealing it for himself, scarfing it down. The two cops are called in, as the sheriff sarcastically says, "Nice of you boys to make it into work today." He tells the two of them to go to Franny's house about the car explosion last night, asking them, "You think you two can handle that?" before they leave. So nobody respects these guys, which is a pretty good touch. The two then drive off as the sheriff asks his secretary if she's writing a novel, as she says, "Just typing away as usual." The sheriff sits down to read a paper as Craig drives in, walking up to the sheriff. The sheriff asks what he could do for Craig, as Craig demands that he takes his feet off his desk, take the cigar out of his mouth, and stand up to listen to him. The sheriff gets upset at this before Craig shows his badge, causing the sheriff to apologize. Craig asks the sheriff if he saw anything unusual in the last 24 hours, as the sheriff notes about the car explosion for saying it could have been a prank. Okay, I think having a car literally blow up is a lot more than just wacky hijinks. Craig then asks for a list of everyone at the town, before saying that the town must be sealed off from any outside information. This town looks like it's been sealed off from outside information since 1967. We then cut to Billy getting dressed and driving off to Kathy, as he says that he feels like an idiot for going to the doctor. He shows her a giant metallic wound on his chest, as she knows that it's larger and he has to get to the doctor. Of course, let's hope he doesn't go there, because at the doctor, they have the waiting room, and they make you read old magazines.
Yeah.
He then gets in his car as Kathy tells him about Franny. He jokes that she ate the entire birthday cake all by herself. Wow, Billy, you really are a jerk. She then tells him about Chuck's car blowing up, as he wonders who could possibly do that. We then cut to the sheriff's office as the two cops are eating a hamburger, with the bearded one stealing it from the skinny one. Showing what good characters they are, they leer at all the women passing by as Chuck is brought into the sheriff's office. Franny asks how long they have to wait there, as the bearded cop says as long as they want. Froggy begins rambling about seeing a flash in the sky, but it wasn't lightning, as it was a solid circle of color before saying that it could be a flying saucer. The bearded cop turns to his companion and says, "The kid's nuts. He's seen Star Wars 5 times in a row," which is not the last time this movie referenced Star Wars. Froggy yells that it wasn't lightning that destroyed the car, and he knows that because "I know everything. I know about how the Aztecs used to drink hot chocolate 50,000 times a day."
Ha 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 ha! Take that, Dexter!
One thing I find kind of interesting is that there's a girl that walks by wearing a shirt that just says T-shirt. And part of me thinks that what happened is in the script, they called for a girl wearing a scanty, somewhat teasing shirt. And the production crew misunderstood that and literally just wrote T's shirt on the shirt.
It wouldn't surprise me with the budget this movie had. We then cut to the doctor's office where Dr. Mellon, played by Roddy McDowall of all people, is looking at Billy's wound. Obviously, he's actually Dr. Cornelius in a human disguise. Billy asks Dr. Mellon if he could get dressed, as Dr. Mellon tells him to come to the next room. He has Billy sits down as he examines the wound, knowing that it's all hard and metallic, while Billy says he feels no pain from it at all. Dr. Mellon then asks if he can remove the metallic piece from his chest, as Billy agrees to this. As Dr. Mellon operates on Billy, he pulls out the bloody metallic disc and stares at it in wonder. We then cut to Billy leaving as Dr. Mellon tells him to be careful as it doesn't get infected. Wow, you're taking this really, really well for someone who literally had a giant hunk of metal in his chest for no reason.
Forrest Gump gotten Bruce Wayne, but this being a B movie, we got Forrest Gump instead.
Kathy asks him if he'll be alright, as Dr. Mellon tells Billy to contact him in a few days after Dr. Mellon gets the results. Dr. Mellon then calls Mike, a friend of his, to have him look over the metallic disc as soon as possible, saying that he'll bring it there by midnight. We then cut to night, as we see Dr. Mellon drive along the road before Billy appears, holding the laser cannon and the necklace. He fires at Dr. Mellon, causing the car to catch on fire and drive off a cliff before exploding. The amount of stunt work in this movie, for the budget they had, is really, really impressive, and we get a couple of more really impressive stunts later on with driving on fire. For the budget that they had, this stuff looks really good.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I made the parallels to Dragonheart Vengeance. Both movies took the budget to their limit, to what was literally allowed to happen in films such as these. While one was made by a more reputable studio, Universal, for Dragonheart Vengeance, you didn't really knock this one for giving it its all despite being a B movie. The aliens and the stunt work are definitely some of the peaks of this movie in spite of all the troughs that it has.
As the car explodes and we see its flaming wreckage, we actually cut back to the aliens watching this, and I do like this part. The aliens have a look of, oh god, this is bad, look on their faces. They speed up the ship to go even faster through space. They didn't have to do it, but the fact that they actually added that is in the movie's favor.
Game over, man!
We then cut to Mike waiting in his office before trying to call Dr. Mellon and getting no response. We then cut to the next day, where Craig and the other police officers are all investigating the site of Dr. Mellon's murder, with the sheriff thinking it's from some kind of mad bomber. He asks Craig what he thinks, as Craig says, tell the doctors at Springfield that we found Dr. Mellon. If they're telling the doctors at Springfield, they're obviously going to tell Dr. Hibbert all about this. The two cops then drive off, as Craig tells the sheriff to get him all the names of everyone who saw Dr. Mellon in the past 24 hours. The sheriff asks if someone who lives in the town did this, as Craig yells that they're running out of time. We then cut to Billy leaving his house and driving off, before the two cops pull up in front of him again. The bearded cop berates him for no reason, saying, "You're getting to be a real jinx, aren't you, Billy? Billy. The cop then asks where he's going, and when Billy doesn't answer, the cop then puts Billy in the cop car as he cuts them driving off. The bearded cop then says that, we've got a new way for making people talk, the old school way, and begins beating up Billy as the skinny cop laughs at this, says, "You hit Billy in the belly there," and laughs like an idiot. Yeah, these cops really are the absolute worst characters, and thankfully they are not on screen for very much longer.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they have done absolutely nothing good throughout this entire movie. We then cut to Billy in the sheriff's office, as the sheriff asks him about Chuck's car blowing up. Billy says he only knows what Kathy told him about it, and for saying how he went to Dr. Mellon's yesterday for the wound in his chest. Craig asks to see the wound, as Billy lifts up his shirt, only for the wound to be back like how it was the previous day. The bearded cop recoils in disgust at this, as Billy asks what's wrong. Craig says that nothing's wrong, as the sheriff is absolutely horrified at this, nervously asking Billy if he needs any help going back home. Billy leaves, as Craig demands for the others that what you saw here stays here. The sheriff says that he never saw anything like that, and wonders what it could be, as Craig says that's what they'll find out. We then get a montage of Craig and Mike examining the metallic pieces, before Mike realizes that it's something that is not native to Earth. He hands it to Craig, and says that it appears to be growing, in another kind of subplot that doesn't really go anywhere. We don't find out anything about this mysterious metal from here on in. Is it the aliens trying to terraform the Earth? Is it the fact that using the weapon too much causes shards of it to come off? We don't know. As Craig wonders what it could be, he then drives off to make a phone call. We then cut to the cop car pulling up to the gas station at night. The skinny cop gets out as the bearded one asks what he's doing. The skinny one says that he wants some Coca-Cola as the bearded cop gets out of the car. Neither of them notice Billy standing nearby with his face green and holding the laser cannon. The bearded cop goes to use the bathroom while the thin cop stands near the car. Billy then blows up the gas station's bathroom with the laser cannon, killing the bearded cop. He then blows up the entire gas station and the cop car as they explode, To which I have to say, yeah, this film must have spent a fortune on pyrotechnics.
Though honestly, here that kind of feels a little wasted because Billy had every opportunity to use that as a warning. Now, when we truly want him to do the right thing and blast those motherfuckers, he flops on that.
It was at this point in the movie I kind of realized what the makeup looks like for Billy when he's transformed by the laser gun. Because it had been gnawing at the back of my mind for a while. He looks like the villain from the Mask movie.
He actually kind of does, Dorian, yeah. I wonder if that was an intentional reference to this, because, this movie was successful. The skinny cop then tries to run away before he runs into Billy, who kills him by firing on him. We don't actually get to see the cop die. We just see the laser firing and seeing Billy grin and then fade out. Pretty interesting way of doing it, because despite the amount of pyrotechnics and explosions this movie has, I don't know if they had enough money for another fire stunt.
And like I said earlier, these cops were assholes just so we could cheer when this scene happened, actually.
That's literally the only reason these cops were in the movie. So we then cut to the next day, where Kathy and Billy are laying next to each other, as Kathy asks if Billy is listening to her. He playfully mocks her as they then begin making out / maybe having sex. It's kind of hard to tell just the way this is edited. I don't know if this is just supposed to be a makeout scene or a full-on sex scene, because knowing that this is a grindhouse movie, it could be either one. After we see this in a montage, we then cut to Kathy getting dressed, then finding the pendant. She stares at it in curiosity before putting it on Billy's chest. As soon as she does this, Billy's face turns green as he sits up and lunges at her. In what is kind of an unintentionally funny moment, he immediately hits the side of his van, knocking himself out. It doesn't sound funny, but when you actually see it happen, it feels more like something out of a scary movie than a serious horror movie.
Yeah, that's definitely accurate.
As Kathy runs away in horror screaming at this, we then cut to Craig arriving in Kathy's house as the Colonel opens the door. Craig and the Colonel turn out to know each other, as the Colonel says that he had to take an early retirement that was forced by the government, then asks Craig why he's here. Now, this is weird because this feels like it's setting up a subplot that never comes. You think like Kathy's grandfather worked with the government and Craig's works with the government. Maybe it's some kind of X-Files government conspiracy. But no, they don't do anything with it. This is the last time we see Kathy's grandfather in the entire film. It feels really weird. It feels, again, like they had a deleted subplot, but they forgot to delete this footage from the movie. We then cut to Billy, now fully possessed by the weapon, as he blows up a pinball machine and runs off into a field. We then cut into a squad car pulling him to the sheriff's office, as the sheriff calls for dispatch, but of course, the other two officers aren't there, having been killed last night. We then cut to Chuck and Froggy driving along in their new car and listening to the radio. Froggy is babbling about how the insurance officer believed in their funny story about lightning destroying the first car. And I have to point this out, Eddie Deason gives the best intentionally funny performance here, because the way he just goes on and on and on about it, it's like, oh, I can't believe they believed us about the lightning. How could you be so stupid? There's no such thing as the lightning during the day, but they believed us. And then Chuck just has enough and screams at Froggy to shut up. It actually works.
Yeah, freaking Chuck channeling freaking Plankton. All right, we get it!
As Froggy continues to babble about the lightning, Chuck screams at him to shut up yet again. As they drive past, Froggy wonders what it could be, as he says, "It's not raining, there can't be any sign of lightning being here." Chuck once again screams at Froggy to be quiet as they drive past a small airplane taking off. The aircraft turns out to be piloted by a couple of police officers as they try to fire on Billy. Billy shoots back with the laser cannon as neither of them hit each other. The police officers then think they shot Billy, but they missed, as Billy then climbs up on top of a rock. He roars and throws his arm up several times, then blows up the plane and roars in delight. We then cut back to Chuck and Froggy driving along as Billy stumbles his way onto the highway. Chuck and Froggy notice him, preparing to seemingly run him over. Okay, that really points out what jerks these guys are, which makes it happen next a bit more justifiable. Billy then shoots the car. Honestly, what I feel is the best stunt of the movie, it catches on fire as it continues to drive down the highway, flaming as it does so as it continues to speed along. Now, please keep this in mind. There were 2 stuntmen driving this car that literally was on fire.
Yep.
So, before the days of CGI, you actually had to get stuntmen to do a stunt like this.
Certainly impressive.
The car then stops and explodes, which kills both Chuck and Froggy. We then cuts to Kathy, who apparently had talked to Craig all about this before he leaves, as she calls out to Billy to see if she's alright, and the two of them leave. We then cut to the two aliens, now on Earth again, as they scan the area. They find the destroyed wreckage of Chuck and Froggy's car as they talk to each other, then walk off. And the animation on this part is really, really good as always. Dave Allen was an effects legend, but they did screw up one part with this effect. You could really tell that these two aliens are in front of a projected screen of the car being set on fire. It doesn't look realistic enough, like they're integrated into the footage. Again, it could have been the incredibly low budget this movie had and that Dave Allen maybe didn't have enough time to really render them properly, but I know, it's just one of those things that it's probably the most notable special defect, let's say, of the movie, at least for me. We then cut to Billy on the side of the road before being picked up by a hippie. One other thing I don't understand is how Billy looks normal now compared to a few moments ago when he was green and had really sharp teeth. Oh, go on, Angron?
I think this was one of the moments where the heck decided to lay off for a little bit, allowing Billy to get back in control for a little bit until his green popped up again. Yeah, I do understand the confusion on this sort of part.
As the hippie begins to talk about a trip he had, he asks Billy what he was doing out there, saying, "There ain't nothing out here but turtles and snakes." Pretty subtle reference to the design of the aliens, haha. We then get the most iconic non-stop motion alien part of the movie. Anyone who's seen Laserblast knows about this sequence because the car slowly drives past a Star Wars billboard as Billy sticks the laser cannon out of the window and blows it to pieces. Take this with a grain of salt, but according to Dave Allen, every single screening of the movie that he went to had the audience laugh and applaud at this moment. Because apparently, man, people were just sick of Star Wars after being inundated with it for 16 months.
So people cheered because they were tired of Star Wars back then. Boy, they'll cheer even louder nowadays.
It's quite the Sony level of hubris there, buddy. Yeah, pretty much what Shark said. Take that, modern Star Wars. You can just literally replace that with last 3 episodes that we got, and honestly, we would still be cheering all the way to the bank.
The hippie reacts to this as a hippie would. He turns to Billy and he says, "Far out!" Billy, however, puts on the necklace and, getting the green skin again, he kills the hippie by blowing him out of the van, then drives it to a nearby city. Up until this point, everyone who Billy has taken care of has had at least some kind of justification. Billy killed Dr. Mellon because he potentially was going to find out the secret. Billy killed the cops and Chuck and Froggy because they were jerks to him. Billy killed the governments in the plane because they were trying to gun him down. But this guy really did absolutely nothing and Billy just killed him. I think it was trying to show that, oh, he's going too far with revenge. But I feel like they could have worded it a little bit better.
Yeah. Or that, or again, the technology decided to act on its own in this part and just activated Billy's bloodlust again because, alien technology, am I right?
The cop car and Craig's car follows closely behind the hippie van. We then cut to the city where Billy is blowing up everything from phone booths to mailboxes and parked cars just totally randomly. On one hand is really slow, and I think this is probably the worst part of the movie, at least for how long it goes on, but at the same time, it feels like it kind of has a purpose in that it shows just how Billy is totally far gone and is just blowing up random stuff that he sees with no rhyme or reason.
A couple things here. So we're not exaggerating. For the next, last 5 minutes of the movie, it's basically nothing but non-stop slow-mo car explosions, which you'd think that would be a good idea, but it just goes on way too long and becomes so boring and tedious after a while. You can only do this a couple of times before it goes, okay, we get it, move on to the next thing. Billy's acting in this is also weird. The only way I've been able to describe it is the way that he was told to act is, okay, what you're doing from this point is You're acting like King Kong as a zombie who is high on drugs. Which leads me to point two. I'm pretty sure that these last 5 minutes of this movie, either the director took all of the drugs or stopped taking drugs entirely. I'm not sure which, but the wrong amount of drugs was used.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect description of him. One unintentionally funny thing about this is, as Billy's just firing randomly at things, the Laserblast theme music, as we'll call it, just starts and stops randomly. Like, when he's shooting something and it's exploding, they're doing the da-na-na-na-na-na-na, and then it just stops as soon as it doesn't. It feels like it's the theme music of the actual gun itself every time he fires it. That has to be some kind of an editing error, because they probably intended for it to play over this entire footage, but then they realized it would have been too short. Actually ties into another error. At one point, the music stops and starts again, and it's overlapping. Like, one part of the music is ending, and the other part of the music is beginning, and it's actually playing at the same time, and it just sounds terrible. That is such a major editing error. I'm actually shocked they got away with that.
Honestly, I like to imagine that whenever the music stops, like it cuts back to frickin' Billy as he fires the thing, I just imagine that the music is just playing in his head, and he's just like imagining total ferocious badass outside. Everything is just completely and utterly silent, and he's just being an utter absolute psychopath for it.
It's either that or the gun itself has a music setting, and every time he presses the button, he is accidentally resetting the music as well.
As the cop car shows up, Billy shoots at it, causing it to tip over on its side and avoid the laser, and actually a really cool car stunt. The car then flips over as Billy shoots at it, causing it to explode. He roars in triumph before destroying yet another mailbox and a newspaper kiosk. Craig then arrives as Billy sees Craig and Kathy. Now totally possessed by the weapon, he slowly approaches them evilly before the effects of a ray gun begins to fire upon him. It turns out to be from the aliens, in a kind of a cool touch that it actually is a little bit foreshadowed in the opening sequence. These aliens are actually giants. We see it standing on top of the building, and it easily looks like it's 5 times the size of a human being. That is actually pretty impressive there, although it does make you wonder why they made such a small-looking ray gun. The alien continues to shoot at Billy before it manages to kill him, before it also gets rid of the laser cannon and the green skin. I do also like this part. The alien, after killing Billy, is just like, job well done, and they get in their spaceship and fly off.
All done.
Exactly. The movie ends with Kathy running up to Billy's corpse and weeping over it as the credits roll. Over the credits, we hear a slower reprise of the Laserblast theme before it then speeds up to become the theme of the movie. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Laserblast got negative reviews as expected, but it was a major hit at the box office. It apparently made more than 5 times its budget, mostly because number 1, it was cheap, and number 2, it rode on the Star Wars craze. A sequel was actually in development, due for a release in, of all years, 1986, before the script was actually reworked into a completely different movie that has no connection with Laserblast or the aliens whatsoever, which makes me wonder what the hell kind of sequel you could have done to this movie. The alien weapon is destroyed, the aliens themselves are gone, the government, I guess, will just cover it up, and the town itself is pretty much a dead town anyway, so there's really nowhere you could go with it. Although some people don't like this movie and think it's terrible, I mean, this movie did show up on Mystery Science Theater 3000 eventually. I actually have to admit, I enjoy it for what it is. I think number 1 is the stop motion effects, which really do look good. Number 2, at least for me, is the story. I feel like with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of a better script, this movie could have been about something. It could have been about the cycle of violence. It could have been about how revenge is completely pointless. You could have done something with it. There's like the bones of a great movie trying to get out here. I definitely understand why a lot of people don't like this movie. It's not for everyone. It is kind of slow. There is a lot of padding, so be prepared for that when you watch it. But I'd recommend watching it just once just to see it.
Yeah, I am one of those people that don't like this. It largely is because I can kind of see the idea for a good movie in here, especially with, I will admit, the special effects that they use are really great. So, like, if they had put just a little bit of that either towards, well, A, more aliens, or B, a bit better and tighter writing, I think that they could have made this good. But in particularly that last 5-10 minutes of the movie is just so bad, it kind of ruins it for the rest of the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, I sort of agree. All things considered, it's one of those films that kind of feel like turn your brain off and just sit there and let this stuff happen. Yeah, a lot of it does feel a little dull, so that excuse can only be carried so far, but for the stuff it does carry, it's actually pretty good. The creatures are pretty cool, as we'll get to in a moment, and all things considered, it has the bones of something that I can definitely get behind, and I definitely want to see more involving these creatures at some point, but as is, I think the film's alright.
That's actually going to lead to the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite alien technology? By alien technology, we really mean anything from a sci-fi franchise or science fiction movie. So technically, the ray gun from Laserblast could count, but that's not going to be my answer. I don't expect it to be any of yours either. My answer is probably going to be from Star Trek, the holodeck, because with the original Star Trek, they had really great effects, but I feel like with the design of the holodeck, with Next Generation, they took it to an entirely next level with it. The amount of the stories they got from the holodeck in the show alone, and you've all heard the quote of the holodeck being the last invention because people would be so hooked on it that they wouldn't do anything else, but I feel like the counter to that point is Star Trek manages to use it not as a crutch, but as a tool, if that makes sense. Or the people of the future don't use it as a crutch, they use it as a tool or as a bit of leisure. It's very interesting how in the future this has supplanted television or film or any kind of medium. There being various holodeck movies, experiences, etc. We have the famous one with Data becoming Sherlock Holmes, another one with the holodeck going crazy and it being an old Western, and then everyone in the Western becomes Data. That is a great, great episode, by the way.
Yeah, I also like what Lower Decks did with the holodeck, making a sort of outlet for Mariner to like vent her frustration, and also having a character from it become a recurring villain at some point. It's honestly pretty cute.
Yeah, no, they really did a great job with it. Haven't really seen Lower Decks, so I can't say about that. But yeah, as a whole, I really, really do have to say that Star Trek as a whole really has just such great technological ideas in it. I mean, how many of them have advanced the day of modern technology? I mean, the flip phone was inspired by the communicator. So without that, would we have had cell phones anyway? It's tough to think about. That's something to be my pick is going to be from Star Trek is going to be the holodeck because they do just such a great job with it. Same thing in Deep Space Nine at Quark's Bar. They have deluxe holodecks experiences, which wink, wink. And even in Voyager, they actually do a pretty good job with it. See, Angron, what would your pick be?
Unfortunately, the lightsaber is complicated. On the one hand, it exists in a sci-fi setting and has been made by, well, humans. On the other hand, like there are dozens of different iterations where aliens have actually made them evolve. The source itself for the lightsaber is a little complicated, so for that reason, not really including that. We have the next best thing, which to all the TF people out there who are into that kind of thing, may I present the Omnitrix. Literally designed by an alien and made to be a peacekeeping device, as in made to communicate with aliens and ultimately, make peace if at all possible. And on top of everything, it has over 1 million aliens in it. So you have 1 million choices to become a literal alien. You can become an alien based off of the werewolf. You can become an alien that's literally just a ghost, but a little more in depth than that. You become an alien with 4 arms, literal alien that can camouflage itself. There are so many options for you to do nearly whatever with said device. Yeah, like I was all over that as a kid. I got 2 Omnitrixes as a kid. Both are from 2 separate series as a whole, but yeah, that is definitely going to be my pick. If not the lightsaber, or debatably the Chozo suit, which, yeah, made by aliens, super badass. Samus wields it so well. I'm definitely going to go with the Omnitrix.
We talked about Ben 10 already, and that was such a fun experience. And it's really one of Cartoon Network's most creative shows in general, I feel. especially
Yes.
because the Omnitrix allows you to have such a wide range of characters and personalities and alien designs that really are just so creative.
Exactly.
Let's see. Yep. Let's see, Matt, what would your pick be?
Mine is going to need a little bit of explanation because it's going to sound weird at first. So in Mass Effect, there's a wide range of things to choose. And I'm actually choosing the Reapers themselves, which were an invention of the Leviathan race. The reason I'm choosing them is because they actually do a thing and fill a purpose that you almost never see in sci-fi that helps explain a big glaring issue that sci-fi always has. The universe is billions of years old. Why is it that we only ever see alien species around the same technological level, maybe a little bit more advanced, than humans as humans are coming up into the space age? Well, it's because the Reapers reset the galaxy every 50,000 years. So there are no ancient aliens because they've killed them all. Thank you. Finally, someone explains that glaring problem. There should be civilizations millions and millions of years old that aren't there. It even explains why there's just ancient alien tech lying around because the Reapers intentionally leave it there for people to find. That's one of the reasons I love Mass Effect. They actually do try and explain normal sci-fi tropes for a purpose, not just, oh, well, this exists because trope.
From the literal Star Trek of gaming, no less.
I like when they do that. I like when they explain things about the world as a whole that just makes so much sense when you think about it for more than 2 seconds. It's like, oh, it's so obvious. Let's see, Shark, what would your pick be?
Well, mine comes from one of my favorite science fiction franchises, and it's gonna be the Chozo technology from the Metroid series. But more specifically, Samus power suit, because, I mean, this thing is iconic. It's the thing you see your main character using in the whole franchise, and it looks cool, and of course it attacks, it has the weapons, lasers, missiles. Cool and all, but honestly, the interesting thing about it is that it has more than just being like a power suit, because, well, first of all, believe it or not, it's actually biological. It fuses with Samus, which kind of justifies one of the title games in the franchise, Metroid Fusion. But yeah, it has like a lore that Samus can only wear that suit if she has enough willpower. There's a reason why nobody else can use it and all of that. So it's a really interesting, and it actually upgrades and evolves with Samus depending of what happens to her. Like, spoilers for a 25 years something game. In Metroid Fusion, Samus gets infected by X-parasites. She's cured when she gets some DNA from the final Metroid of the previous game, and yeah, Samus, because now she has Metro DNA, she's not weak to ice, so the power suit actually upgrades because, oh, you can no longer use the ice beam because it was part of the suit. If I upgrade it into the suit, it's gonna damage you. So instead, we're gonna update it so only the missiles are now have ice abilities, and that is something that has stuck since that game, because in Metroid Dread, that also happens. The missiles are also ice missiles, so it is really interesting to see how, it could be something like, oh, it's just like a Captain Falcon's helmet, or like Link's hat, or Kirby's red shoes. It's just a suit. It's just something of them. We don't really have to explain a lot. Nope, they gave Samus suit the entire lore. So that is fun. That is interesting.
I feel like Metroid itself is a great piece of science fiction that really gets slept upon, I think, just because it's a video game. But when you really boil it down, it's probably one of the best and most innovative science fiction franchises, really, period.
Yeah.
So really, really interesting choices there. Now it is time for the patent-pending Dragoness Scale, where we are going to rank these weird-looking aliens. It's interesting because, on one hand, they really do not appear in the movie that much. They're in it for maybe 5 minutes total when you combine all the runtime, with the majority of it just being in the intro portion. And as Matt said, if we had more padding of them, it would have been a lot more exciting. But at the same time, they look great. These things are animated so fluidly. Like, for a 1978 grindhouse movie to have this level of intricate stop motion. You compare this to Planet of Dinosaurs, which, don't worry, we're going to get to that one sooner than later. This might as well be Harryhausen. So, with that being said, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. Because, again, they clearly are the best part of this movie by a wide margin. And they're easy to see why they became the icons of this movie. And yeah, this movie would have been way better if it focused just a little bit more on them. Maybe something concurrent with Billy's story, but alas, we did not get that. I'm pretty confident with 7 out of 10 being where they'll be at. So, let's see. Angron, what are you going to give them?
I'm going to give them the same thing, because, yeah, they pretty much are the movie for the most part. They define the movie. These aliens have a lot more personality than most of the humans in this entire series. Like, you think to yourself, oh great, it's gonna be lifeless aliens just come here and be like bang bang and all that stuff. No, actually, they have intelligence to them, and that is honestly for a B movie, all you could really ask. And also their designs certainly are pretty dang cool. It's honestly a shame we don't see a lot more of these, at least when it comes to being talked about, or at least referenced in like online fan art and whatnot, yada yada. I definitely agree that these are definitely the highlight of the movie, because like they come in, do their shit, and then just get on out of there. And also have a bit of a personality going on with them as well. That one bit where the boss is like, "The shit, you guys! Oh yeah, it's kind of bad. We're gonna go back. We're gonna fix it up." Yeah, it's honestly pretty great. Also, the giant size definitely helps. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to say 7 out of 10 on this one.
Nice, nice. So let's see, Matt, what would you give them?
So from a design perspective, absolutely 10 out of 10. Don't change a thing there. They look so good. They move so well. Just the fluidity and how much care was taken to them. I love that the little detail that they are actually wearing clothes. If you look at them close enough, you can see that there is clothing on them in some capacity. It's just that it kind of meshes in with the skin.
Yeah.
That was a very nice little touch that they did not have to do, that I appreciate that they did, just for that extra level of detail. The problem, as was said, they're in this for maybe 5 minutes, if you're being generous, in this entire movie, and it is a slog to get through at times. I wish that they had given them more in this, and they feel like they were just relegated to, oh hey, here's a neat little special effect we'll put in, maybe that'll work with people too. It's such a shame when you have such good character design and such great animation, and then you don't use it because we gotta have Billy shirtless again for another 5 minutes. So because they're just thrown to the wayside, I can't give more than a 7 as well.
So yep, I understand where you're coming from, especially as you said that these really are such well intricately designed characters that it really just shows how much of a good animator Dave Allen was.
Yeah.
Let's see, Shark, what would you give them?
Well, once again, I think we are giving the same score because, yep, it's gonna be a 7 because of what have been said. They look cool. They actually really expressive. They have like the great moments, like the part where they realize, oh, we have to go back and quick and all of that. But they are really barely in the movie, so at the same time, they don't give us too much. What we get is fine, but we definitely need some more of them. So, yep, another 7 to the guys.
So it pretty much makes sense that they all get the score because again, they're the best part of the movie, and if they weren't, it maybe just a little bit more. Both the movie and their scores would have been a little bit better, but alas, there's nothing we could do about that. That's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you want to see Laserblast versus modern day Star Wars, you can feel free to email us at fiorydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us at twitter@twitter.com/fiorydiscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel and like and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment. Any all comments are appreciated. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 2018 Muppet Babies episode, Sir Kermit the Brave. We finally get to talk about something Muppet adjacent that is not Jim Henson's Dinosaurs for the podcast, so that alone will be pretty fun. And it actually is made by Mr. Warburton, who also did Kids Next Door, so maybe the show will be a lot better than we think. So with that pedigree, it should be pretty fun. But that's going to be it for this week. Until then, thank you so much for listening, and take care.
Adios.
So,
Bye.
Adios. See you all next week.